Welcome back to Red Wolf Roundtable. You know who I am. I'm Cooper Melder, and along right beside to me is the man, the myth, the legend. After making his WWE debut, Tristan, the Juice Box Harlan?
I'm the Juice Box now?
I don't know.
Well, I guess I have been bestowed the honor of being called the Juice Box. But Cooper, it's good to be back. I missed everybody here on Red Wolf Roundtable, everybody from our crew in the control room to our camera people out on the control room floor today. But Cooper, you know, I'm sad that I missed last week because It looked like such a great episode watching from Jackson, Mississippi. But, you know, the WWE is a great place to work. I debuted, and, you know, Triple H told me, he said, you know, son, you got to go out there and you got to give them ruthless aggression. So I went out there, I slapped somebody in the face, tried to beat them in a one-on-one matchup, but I didn't win. 2 weeks later, I got fired. How that works in the span, I was only gone for one episode. Don't ask questions, because you never know what you don't know until you do know. But, Cooper, we got a great show today.
We do have a great show.
We got a lot of good things to talk about. Before we get too carried away, I did understand that there is a new segment on ASU-TV, or on Red Wolf Roundtable with ASU-TV collaboration, the Sports Desk. We're going to send it to our Sports Desk correspondent, JoJo Wallace. JoJo, how you doing, man?
Yes, sir. Welcome back to another episode here from the ASU-TV Sports Desk. I'm JoJo Wallace, and I mean, what could be better than being introduced by Mr. Melder and Mr. Harlan? What a beautiful thing. This week, we dive in and take a look at the A-State women's basketball, who have really been, you know, walking with a little bit of a limp after being without their alpha with Izzy Higginbottom. And as you can see from this lovely graphic, the Red Wolf have lost 7 straight without Izzy. And, you know, Izzy's coming off a first-team all-conference season where she averaged over 22 points per game and was truly the heart and soul of this Red Wolf team. However, taking a look at how things went in Pensacola in the Sun Belt Conference Tournament, on Wednesday, the Red Wolves took a hard loss to Louisiana, falling to them 41-54 to be eliminated from the tournament. I'd like to give a quick shout-out to Coach Rogers and the rest of the team on a great season. Now, switching lanes here, taking a look at the A-State men's basketball, somebody must have turned the heater on because things are starting to heat up as the Red Wolves are nearing their Sun Belt Conference debut. You know, A-State has the number 4 seed, which gives them a double bye to the quarterfinals, but they could not have got here without Caleb Fields and Terrion Todd leading the hunt. I mean, Fields coming off his senior season where he was awarded first-team All-Sun Belt Conference, and on the other hand, Terrion Todd just earned third-team conference honors. Kind of a double-headed dragon we dealing with. And I mean, if I didn't know any better, I'd say the Red Wolves have a legit shot at winning this one. You can watch them tomorrow at 2 p.m. on ESPN Plus live from nice and sunny Pensacola. Now, from the mound, A-State baseball tasting a little bit of some humble pie. After winning 8 of their first 9 games, the Red Wolves are now 1-3 in their last 4 games, kind of cooling down the hot start they got off to. Now, A-State baseball plays again tomorrow, Saturday, March 9th, with the series against Eastern Illinois. But the question for them is, can the Red Wolves get back to winning, or will they have another slice of some humble pie? With that being said, that is all for this week's episode from the ASU-TV Sports Desk. I'm JoJo Wallace saying adios mi amigo and sending you back to the Red Wolf Roundtable crew.
Cooper, you know, this weekend here in Jonesboro, Arkansas State will have a doubleheader against Eastern Illinois.
Yes.
After today's game on Friday, suffered a bit of a rainout.
Yeah, you know, Friday, it's going to be rainy today, so we got a doubleheader, and like JoJo was saying, the A-State team has been struggling. You know, they're playing Eastern Illinois, who's currently 1-9. They should bounce back on track this weekend, but the struggles for A-State these past couple weeks have been terrible.
Yeah, Cooper, this team, they started off so great. They started off really hot. But my biggest thing is they just haven't been able to find their stride. I mean, they're having an ERA of 8.10 so far over the last 5 games. They've been struck out 41 times, and they're just not hitting the ball well. I mean, that's what baseball is. You got to hit the baseball.
Yeah.
But, Cooper, I mean, really, that's all we have right now. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the women's loss against Lala and some more things within the women's basketball here at Arkansas State University. This is Tristan Harlan for Red Wolf Roundtable saying, see you in 30 seconds.
I think one of the things I learned at Arkansas State was life is 10% of what happens to you, 90% of how you respond to it, and that's just something that I live by.
A-State is home, and they're going to treat you like you're a part of the family. Students should watch ASU-TV just to see the creativity that a college student can get. The creativity that some of these students have is truly amazing. Getting that experience can really just take you further, and I feel like our program does that for a lot of students.
Welcome back to Red Wolf Roundtable here on ASU-TV. Now we're going to talk about the women's basketball team.
Yes.
Fortunately, they suffered a loss in their first game in the Sun Belt Conference Tournament against Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns. And Cooper, what a fun game that was to call.
It was a very fun game, but it was also frustrating just seeing a team that we saw who was, at one point 6-6 in conference, just struggle after struggle. I mean, you're seeing it shooting 30% from the field goal, 20% from three-point land. From the start, it just seemed like we knew things were going to go wrong, and they did.
Well, Cooper, I mean, here's the thing. I hate to be the guy that spreads the bad news and kind of be the Debbie Downer, but this team, over the course of since the Akron game when Izzy Higginbottom went hurt, they just sucked.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to say that because I love the team, but when you have your leading scorer averaging 22.2 points a game and your second leading scorer only averaging 12, you gotta give a little bit more wealth to the players when it really matters. But the real big thing with this team is, and that just irks me, is that Izzy didn't win Player of the Year.
Yeah, she got first team all conference.
Congratulations.
Shout out to Izzy.
Congratulations.
She got first team all conference, and you're seeing it there, well deserving. But then we find out, okay, Izzy's been playing great all year, just game after game after game. And then we get a highway robbery where she does not win Sun Belt Conference Player of the Year.
Yeah, and look, here's the thing. I'm not saying Abby Beeman or the Marshall Thundering Herd is a bad player or a bad team. But when you think of Player of the Year, and I want this graphic to stay up for a second just so you can understand what our frustration with this. When you think of Player of the Year, you think of someone that has put blood, sweat, and tears into their team. The reason why their team wins, the reason why their team does good is a Player of the Year. Not somebody who's averaging 17 points and the next leading scorer on the team is averaging 15. That's not a Player of the Year. I don't care what the records were at the end of the day. When you think of Player of the Year, you think of someone who arguably and undisputedly led the team on their back. Izzy Higginbottom has done that. I hate to use this comparison, but I want to kind of use a professional comparison a little bit. It's like Kobe Bryant in the NBA. Mm-hmm. Kobe Bryant there for the longest time on the Lakers, he was the number one guy without a number two before they got Pau Gasol. But my biggest issue with this kind of robbery is that people made the comment on Instagram when because you know me, I'm on social media. I like to stir the pot a little bit. That's the wrestling fan coming out of me. I said Izzy was robbed. And you had like 3 or 4 different Marshall fans coming saying that I wasn't a smart sports producer. I didn't know anything about basketball, that I needed to get more followers before I had an opinion. But to them, I say this. When you're talking about 2 players that are arguably playing the best basketball of their entire careers, and one of them is top 10 in scoring in the Sun Belt Conference, I don't care if the Arkansas State Red Wolves didn't win a single game. I don't care if Marshall won every single game. When you think about Player of the Year, you think about the best Player of the Year, and I get they played earlier in the season and Arkansas State didn't win or whatever, but the proof is in the pudding, so to speak. Izzy Higginbottom is and forever will be, until something changes, the best player in the Sun Belt Conference. I don't care if anybody from Marshall has a problem with that. I don't care if anybody from Georgia Southern has a problem with that. Even Cooper's favorite school, ULM. I don't care. Izzy Higginbottom, and you can say I'm pushing a narrative, Izzy Higginbottom is and will forever will be the greatest player in the Sun Belt Conference for the 23-24 season.
Well, let me just go on my little rant real quick.
Let me let you cook.
So, Sun Belt Player of the Year, that means the most valuable player. So most valuable player to the team, if you look at Arkansas State, Izzy averaged 22 points per game. Their second leading scorer averaged 12. A 10-point gap between first leading and second leading. And then you look at Marshall with Abby, she averaged 17, and like Tristan's saying, she had 2 players below her averaging 15. We barely had 2 players average above 10 points per game. So we see when Izzy got hurt, they lost 7 in a row. I'm telling you, you take Abby out of that team, they might lose a game here and there, but they're going to be just fine. So Izzy Higginbottom, the most valuable player to her team, the most valuable player to the Sun Belt. I mean, if you haven't kept up with the Lady Red Wolves, women's basketball team, she was getting compared with Caitlin Clark on March Madness, saying, look at Izzy, she's top 3, averaging 35 points per game in the last 5 games.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I may not know anything, but when I'm looking at the stats and I'm looking at, okay, the impact they have on a team, Izzy has the most impact on the team in the entire Sun Belt.
Right, and you make the argument about, Izzy being compared to Caitlin Clark early on, and Caitlin Clark is the greatest thing to happen to women's basketball. Mm-hmm. But, moving on, just so we don't take the entire time talking about Izzy Higginbottom, what do you think the Red Wolves need to do after their early season loss to Louisiana in the tournament? What do you think, Cooper, that the Red Wolves need to do in recruiting to kind of retool and refuel the fire for the Red Wolves to come back this next season?
We really just need to find a true scorer, because if you think about it, Lauren, she's a defensive mind. She's like a Tony Allen. She wants to play defense. She wants that defensive player of the year. And you can have that. But with that, you need someone who can be a Klay Thompson, someone who can be in the corner spotting up and shooting. So if you can go in the transfer portal or even just recruit a good freshman who's a pure scorer, I feel like that'll be the missing piece, because we were looking at it on Wednesday. Arkansas State might have the most experienced team coming next year. You're going to have 6 or 7 seniors, all 5 that are going to probably be in the starting lineup. You're talking about the most experienced team in the Sun Belt. And if you can get a couple freshmen and have them come learn under them, as long as the injury bug doesn't bite us again, we'll be a problem in the Sun Belt.
Well, I will say for score, we did have someone on that team on the roster last season that is no longer on the team. That's a sugar bear. But we're going to take it a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about some men's basketball right here on Red Wolf Roundtable.
When you say experience counts, it's experience that counts for a lifetime.
Boxes, I cannot fit in the boxes. Stop it, quitting was never an option. Exhausted, this passion is never exhausted. And you cannot stop it, nah, you cannot stop it. Quitting was never an option.
ASU-TV, covering all your favorite sports. From Red Wolf Roundtable to Westside football and more, ASU-TV has you covered. Tune in now to ASU-TV for news and coverage on these sports and more.
Welcome back to Red Wolf Roundtable in Cooper. Now we got to talk about some Red Wolves that won some awards for the men's basketball team. The Hard Hat Gang is thriving.
Yes, they are. So coming first team all Sun Belt, most deserving, Caleb Fields, the senior. Some people are arguing we need to retire the number 0.
I'd be a fan of it.
I would be. Coming in 2019 as a small guy with just scruffy hair to now being a big-time baller, shot caller.
Okay, 20-inch blades on the Impala?
Yeah.
But, Cooper, Caleb Fields is what it means to be a Red Wolf.
Yes.
I mean, we've talked about him endlessly on this show. I cannot extend my gratitude to Caleb Fields enough. He was one of my first features on the ESPN Plus crew, and, just a shy Tennessee guy coming in talking to a big old Arkansas guy from Cabot. But, I cannot express how much Caleb Fields means to us talking about Arkansas State basketball, but, enough about the legend. He will forever go down as the greatest point guard in the history of Arkansas State basketball. There's another player that was
Newcomer.
a newcomer that was on the All Sun Belt Conference third team, and that's Taryn Todd. Taryn Todd has been one of the most efficient scorers on this Arkansas State team throughout the entire season.
Yeah, Taryn Todd, much deserving because we saw at the beginning of the year, just from the scrimmages, we knew he was going to be a problem. You know, he provided good minutes off the bench when he's not starting, and even when he's in that starting lineup, he's very effective, and he just really played well with Caleb Fields.
Yeah, Taryn Todd, you know, he was kind of, you know, somebody we talked about last year being a missing piece, you know, that position where he came in, he was able to score efficiently, take the pressure off the Marabono, Avery Felts, take the pressure off Caleb Fields, Isaiah Nelson, even DeAndre Dominguez. But, you know, this team really, this is the best I've seen the Arkansas State men's team since I've been here on campus.
Oh, for sure. I mean, for the past couple of years, we had Coach Mike Bellato. He's doing his thing. You know, I don't want to try to spread hate on his name or anything like that, but he just wasn't doing well with A-State. He couldn't keep players around. He tried to hide Nord Chad's talent for as long as he could, but couldn't convince him to stay. We had an experiment with Desi Sills. He left and went to Kansas State, and so now we get Brian Hodson, and he really knows how to glue a team together. I mean, at the start of the year, it was like, all right, you know, we had this hype around it. I'm not really seeing it. And then as the year went on, it feels like, you know, something just clicked. And then next thing you know, we're on ESPNU. And they really just came together as a team. They've glued together. And it's really interesting to see what they're going to do on Saturday.
Right, and that's not even mentioning the guy that was one of the most exciting players on the team last year, Terrence Ford Jr., who's currently out, injury, red shirt. But, you know, especially when he comes back, I mean, that's just going to add another piece of the pie, so to speak, and be even more entertaining.
Yeah.
But my biggest thing with this team is, and not a lot of people kind of picked up on this, but for a first-year head coach to come from the SEC who was an assistant under Nate Oates, Coach Hodson has completely turned the culture around for Arkansas State men's basketball. Now, Coach Rogers is doing that for the women's side too. Don't get me wrong, but there's just something with this hard hat gang. I didn't get it. I didn't get it at first, but now it's starting to, you know, it's starting to grow on me. But there's just something when you're in First National Bank Arena and you hear Chromosomes by Key Glock fill the arena. You see everybody get wild. You see everybody get crazy.
Shout out to Colby Wood.
Shout out Colby Wood. That man, he's crazy.
Yes.
I hope he stays at Arkansas State for a while because I love his work. But this team is, I don't think a lot of people get how energized and how crazy this team can be when they're on fire.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it in the Troy game. It's really just been a whole culture change for basketball alone because, you know, everyone's been pushing football in the past couple of years until this year. There wasn't really anything, and then basketball hasn't been really going good. And, you know, we've always heard stories about, you know, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, we used to bring 5,000, 7,000 people per game to the arena, and we just never really saw that. But then this year, it's just like everyone wanted to see what the hype was about, and the hype lived up to expectations. And we've had, you know, almost sold out lower bowls. I'm hoping we could get a sellout crowd next year, but just the culture change, it just has been very, very drastic because we saw where no one really cared about A-State sports to where people are trying to get tickets to every game.
Right, and, you know, just setting the scene a little bit for the Sun Belt Conference game for the Red Wolves, they're taking on a familiar foe in Louisiana. Louisiana coming into this game, you know, after beating Coastal Carolina, and you're seeing kind of the tail of the tape on the screen now, and Arkansas State for the first time in a long time, they're scoring more points a game. They're allowing more points a game, but when you run the kind of system that Brian Hodson and the team is running, that's kind of, you know, you're going to see that. But my biggest thing is the field goal percentage is the kind of key that you want to keep an eye out for, because yes, it's not as much as Louisiana, but this team, yes, they may have gotten beat. Oh, they got beaten twice by this Louisiana team during the regular season.
3 times though.
Exactly, and you know, you said it best last year about the women's team, and I'm going to revive it and use it with the men's team. Don't let the Red Wolves get hot. When the Red Wolves get hot, when Darian Ford's three-pointers are falling, when DeAndre Dominguez's 3 points are falling, and Isaiah Nelson's getting crazy blocks on the other end, coming and hitting a windmill throwdown in your face, this team has what it takes to be the Sun Belt Cinderella story of the year.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we've seen it, and you might be wondering, all right, we're playing Louisiana. How did they get here? Well, they had to play a 13-seed Coastal, and they just destroyed them, quite frankly. They beat Coastal 80-66.
Yeah, Cooper, but we're going to take another timeout. When we come back, we're going to preview this game and talk about some keys for the Red Wolves. So stick around here on the Red Wolf Roundtable on ASU-TV.
I think one of the things I learned at Arkansas State was life is 10% of what happens to you, 90% of how you respond to it, and that's just something that I live by.
A-State is home, and they're going to treat you like you're a part of the family.
Students should watch ASU-TV just to see the creativity that a college student can get. The creativity that some of these students have is truly amazing. Getting that experience can really just take you further, and I feel like our program does that for a lot of students.
Welcome back to Red Wolf Roundtable. Now, Cooper, we're going to talk about this game and what the Red Wolves need to do in order to win this ball game.
Yes, so we are trying to make a run to March Madness. Something hasn't been done since the 90s, something that many A-State fans probably don't even remember seeing the Red Wolves in March Madness. So it starts now. It starts Saturday at 2 o'clock. And Tristan, I'm going to get a quick plug in. I think I heard that Red Wolf Radio might have me and you on to call that game.
I don't know who greenlit that, but that's going to be a fun time, buddy.
Yeah. So if you're wondering, if you want to hear our beautiful voices even more than you already do every Friday, tune in at 2 o'clock on Saturday on Red Wolf Radio. And you know what? We'll be posting on our socials so you can get the link so you can listen to us call some A-State men's basketball.
Yeah, Cooper. So looking at this game a little bit now, what are maybe some early keys for the Red Wolves to earn a victory against the booing Cajuns, the raging Cajuns?
Something like that.
Something like that. There's too many Louisiana teams to count at this point.
Yeah, so, it's kind of been the story of the season. We live and die by the three, so we're going to have to come out hot from the three-point land. It's going to have to start right away. We've seen when we have fast starts at the beginning of the game, we can really just set the tone, set the momentum, and our style of play. But we've also seen how we've done when we've had cold starts where, De'Aaron Ford can't hit a three to save his life. Caleb Fields can't find a bucket. The mayor, Bono, can't even hit a three. And those are the games we just struggle. So if we can come out quick, have Louisiana to call an early timeout because we're on a 10-0 run, I feel like that would be the biggest key for the Red Wolves.
And Cooper, you always have a knack for seeing the future on these things. So if this does end up happening on Saturday, then you're just going to get all my kudos in the world. But, this team really, like I said before we went to break, this team's one of the most exciting teams in the Sun Belt. Record may be one thing. And here's my question, okay? Why does when people talk about the Arkansas State Red Wolves, why do they always bring record into it? Why can't they just talk about the production on the court? Because I'll be one to tell you this. Record doesn't mean everything, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, it does mean something if you haven't won a game all season. If you won every game all season, it means you're decent. But when you're talking about a middle of a pack team like this Arkansas State Red Wolves and, a lower middle of the pack team like the Louisiana Raging Cajuns, you can't bring record from the regular season into it, or the fact that Louisiana has beat Arkansas State twice this season, because every day is a new day. Every day God blesses you with new opportunities and new goals and new fashions. So when you're talking about this game, really, you shouldn't be worried about any previous. I almost said previous. You shouldn't worry about any previous outcomes. What you should be worried about is a man who's almost 7 foot tall, and you can't teach that, Isaiah Nelson, who should have won Defensive Player of the Year. I'm just going to say that.
Okay. Yeah, Isaiah Nelson, he brings the, the electricity to the team. He has all the emotion. You see him. Every time he dunks it, Coach Hodson's yelling at him to get down court, because if you don't yell at him, get down court, he's going to be standing in front of Colby Wood or some guy with a camera, flexing, screaming at him. But, that's the player you love to have on your team, is a player like Isaiah Nelson. He brings the energy every single day, and, they feed off of it. When he's going up there, sending it off the backboard, then coming down, going for an alley-oop dunk, it just brings all the hype to the team. And if I'm Louisiana, I am afraid to play the Red Wolves, because, we ended this regular season with a loss at App State, but it was kind of one of those get that humble loss out before the conference tournament start. So you're thinking about it now. The Red Wolves are the hottest team in the conference. They're the number 4 seed, and you have a bunch of players that have already played in Pensacola before, Caleb Fields, Isaiah Nelson. They know how to play in that arena. So it's only a matter of time before we see our Red Wolves moving on to the next round.
Right, and the biggest takeaway from Louisiana's win against Coastal Carolina is, you've got one guy that scores 25, another guy that scores 13, and then the third leading scorer scoring 11. But if you stop Kobe Julian, you're pretty much going to almost have 10 points there that are up for grabs by one of the many players on the Arkansas State Red Wolves that, have been known to come in and get points when it counts. But in reality, and the biggest reality thing that, this team needs to look out for when playing Louisiana or Louisiana playing Arkansas State is basketball is a game of runs, okay? And no matter what happens, once you get on a 10-0 run, 13-0 run, even an 8-0 run, it's hard to overcome that. You've seen it previously this season. Troy is no different to this Arkansas State team. Even when James Madison came to Arkansas State to play the Red Wolves, Arkansas State went on a 15-0 run at one point trying to come back, and James Madison didn't know what to do, and James Madison's arguably the number 1 team in the conference.
Yes.
Look at what happened to Troy in First National Bank Arena on ESPNU. Arkansas State got off to a big run. They didn't know what to do. So here's some kind of bullet points everybody needs to jot down for this game if you're wondering, what do the Red Wolves need to do to win? They need to do three big things. And there's no graphic for this. It's just coming off the dome, so just bear with me. 1, they need to get DeAndre Dominguez inside to do the post game. They need to get Isaiah Nelson, big defensive game. I need that out of him. And Caleb Fields needs at least 6 assists before halftime. I know it's kind of hard to get, but it's doable for Caleb Fields.
I'm feeling a double-double game.
You feeling double-double?
From Caleb Fields. I think he's going to have a solid 12 points and about 12 assists to go along with it.
Yeah. Well, Cooper, it was great. My first episode back on the show after my trip to Jackson, Mississippi. But, guys, that's all we got this week. When we come back, hopefully we'll talk about the Arkansas State Red Wolves moving on in the Sun Belt Conference Tournament. See you guys.